I'm Tracey McLennan, and I have a business called B Consult and Right Side Media. B Consult is an accredited skills development company. We provide learnerships and qualifications to employed people as well as unemployed people. And the learnership part is that they're sponsored by a corporate company. So a company will pay for them to get their qualification, which means that the company gets B points as well as tax concessions and rebates for providing the sponsorship, and the employed person or the unemployed person gets a qualification. So it's a win-win. And then Right Side Media is the company that creates the content for the training. So they do it in animation, 2D, 3D, whiteboard animation, and also inductions, standard operating procedures that we put into an animated format. During COVID, I had to find a way to make training more interesting, and that's how I decided to get graphic designers, and I was blown away. These guys are just so amazing. I think the creativity. So because of that, they came on board and they worked for B Consult. But then they did so well, it became a standalone company so that they can work for other companies as well, doing just the inductions and, taking an induction, making that into a video. It saves so much time and money. And then your facilitator, your trainer, can spend time on training that really matters. And also the learners that we have now, the new generation, they don't want to sit in a classroom. They don't want to sit in a classroom getting the same training all the time. They need it to be interesting and, and engaging and interactive. So that was exciting. And also companies don't have the time to let people out for training. And also I'm trying to get companies to understand, you can't train somebody once. The whole reason we learn is through repetition. Repetition is how anyone learns anything. You can't do it once. So even in induction, when the person is so overwhelmed, they're new into a company, they're new into a role or whatever, they're getting all of this training, plus they're nervous and they're excited. How do they remember anything? So if we've got it on a video, they're able to access it any time, go back to it, etc. So how I came along the journey and how I got to where I am now is that I was started in the sales environment. That was my first real job, and I used to sell consumer products into chain stores. So I used to call on buyers, and the buyers used to buy my product. But in order for them to place orders, the stores had to sell the products out. And I found that to get the salespeople to sell, I would spend a lot of time training them, giving them sales tips, giving them product knowledge, etc. So that is really where I had the aha moment of training can be impactful. It can actually get results. And then when I left corporate to start my own training company, it wasn't quite as easy at that stage because companies, don't really want to spend on training. But what I was able to do is then find the angle from the BEE and from the tax concessions to make it cost effective. And that's really how I got to where I am now. So I always feel like I went through the back door. Training is transformative. It changes lives. There's no doubt. It changes the person's life. It can change the company. The companies have a social impact. There's just so much good stuff that comes out of training if it's done correctly and if it is impactful and if it gets the message across. So, and I've always loved learning, but I think like all of us, we like learning about what we want to learn about. So I go down these rabbit holes. I literally do. If I get interested in anything, could be a vitamin, I'll be doing all the research, etc. So I think that's also all of that put together really got me to having a training, to being involved in the training industry. I think my biggest dream initially, the biggest dream initially was just to survive. There wasn't a dream. It was just literally surviving. But then I think as I started seeing the impact, my dream became when I would say to stop unemployment, I wouldn't say to reduce unemployment. And I really believed we had the tools. With the legislation, with everything that was going on, we have the tools to reduce it. And I think that has always been the dream. And then also just to make a difference. I think just to do something that is meaningful, even if it's a little bit meaningful, but at the end of the day to make a difference. So our whole team, we are all involved in making a difference. Yes, I think I've been inspired by the way, so legislation really for the country, it really works to eradicate unemployment. So with all of with the tax concessions, with the advantages for companies, so that has obviously been part of the motivation. But I've also been inspired by people that have done things differently. So always inspired by, I wouldn't say rule breakers, but just these outliers. So I definitely found that has been inspirational. Just to follow people that have started in a garage and grown their business, to providing employment. And, once you provide employment for one person, it impacts more than 10 people. Well, that's what the stats say. But if you look at generational, I think it is, it's so impactful. So I would say I'm definitely innovation and people that are visionary, definitely visionaries. So I think I make an impact on the business by the way I conduct myself and as well as conduct business and treat people. So I have a big role on treating our learners and our clients and our staff with respect, and I think that comes through from all of the staff as well as the clients that we work with. We have lovely clients, we have lovely learners, and we have lovely staff. Not always like that, but that's what we try and do. And then I think the impact is the innovation, always trying to do things differently, which has made the staff think along the lines of how do we do this differently, how do we do this better, how we do this more effectively. And at the core is making a difference. How do we make a difference in either the client's life or the learner's life? So that is our core, what we work towards. And I think probably that's the impact. I would say my major success along the journey is my staff. I am very proud of them. I'm very proud of what they've achieved. They've grown with me. So in the sense that they also didn't, they followed me, sometimes blindly. Sometimes I think they shook their head and didn't quite know which direction we were going in. We went through COVID, we went through a lot, but they have grown. And to see, when you get to, I won't say my age, but when you get to my age, everyone's younger than you. And they become, you're able to see their growth. I'm able to see, and I really think that is a major achievement. If I look back and everything had to end, I would look at them and just see that they're better than where they started. We're all better than where we started. And our learners as well. Everyone ends the journey better than where they started. But our challenges are, because we work in a very regulatory compliance industry, training is very compliant. So we have our CETAs, the QCTO, compliance and regulations to follow, but we also have BE, compliance and regulations to follow. So we have all of that we have to integrate. And then we have our clients who are our clients, but our learners are also our clients. So we have a lot of bosses to report to and to integrate everything so that everything works and we're answerable to a lot of people. So that is challenging, and then also we work with people. So our learners are all people with their own challenges. And those challenges end up coming to us as well, especially working with people with disabilities. They have a lot of challenges. You can't just go in and train. You can't just expect everybody and just treat everybody exactly the same because everyone has different needs. So putting all those challenges together, getting that qualification done within the time frame, ticking all the regulatory and compliance boxes and coming out at the end can be challenging. Well, the advice I'd give to someone that wanted to do something similar or go on their own is really, as Simon Sinek says, find your why. Once you've found your why, then I think you can overcome all the challenges because they're going to be lots. They're going to be more than you expect, but they're also going to be a lot of highs that you don't expect. But if you know why you're doing it and you're convinced of your why, then I think you will overcome those challenges. It's doable. It's not insurmountable. There are loads of people to look at that have done it with less and with more challenges. But just understand, I always remember, I can't remember who said it, that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And especially for women. We have got additional challenges, not challenges, great things like having children and maternity and all of that. But that does have its effect. And don't disregard that. Understand it's going to have an effect. It's going to be good as well as challenging, but we get stuff. I found that everyone that I know that's had their time off for having their babies or took a step back, they come out of it with like vigor, and they put the foot down and they on the accelerator and they move it up. You know what I mean? So, but just know exactly why you want to do it. For anything, even if you don't want to do it, know why you don't want to do it. Well, I would give the advice I'd give to younger women is to find your why. If you want to do it, it's very possible. It's doable, but you have to know why you want to do it, because it's challenging, and it's going to be more challenging than you expect, but it's also going to be more rewarding than you expect. But if you have your why and you actually know why you're going to do it, you'll be able to overcome those challenges. Business goals, yes. So one of my goals, and it might be a bit idealistic, is I would love training and learning to become as much fun and as addictive as social media, because we all go onto social media without thinking about it. It's a fun thing. Can learn anything, but it's fun. And what I'd love is for training to become as much fun, and people to be trained and learn without knowing that it's not like, oh, I've got to go do my lessons, I've got to go do my learning. It becomes something that's immersive, that they just learn because it's a fun thing to do. And to bring as much innovation into their training, to find experiences to make that learning, and then to make learning accessible. So that people don't have to travel to training, because what I found is that there's a lot of training, there's a lot, and I think we all do that. There's so much out there now that we can learn, but to find out what the right thing is, to stop the noise and find out what is going to get you to your next step, what is actually going to give you the skills you need to get to the next step. So if I could make that a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible, and a little bit more fun, that would be my goal. So to find balance, I think we're all looking for balance. And I think I come from an era where balance wasn't even the word that we would look at. We just worked. That's all it was. And now we've realized, and I think that is what we learn from the new generation, that are so good at finding balance. So I find a lot of balance in nature. It sounds cliche, but there really is something to be said about being in nature, whether it's being at the sea, going for a walk. It helps a lot. It just clears your mind. There's something in it. And then my family, I think they ground me, they balance me, they tell me exactly where I'm going right and where I'm going wrong. And I find that is also great at balancing. I also love reading and I love learning, so I'm forever reading about what other people do and integrating where I can. I journal, not as much as I should, but I do journal. I meditate, again, not as much as I should, but I do. So I do little bits, and I find that you've got to find what works for you. It can't be prescriptive. If everyone else is getting up at a certain time and you're forcing yourself, that's not right. Find what works, and that's balance, isn't it? I'd really like to thank you guys for the acknowledgement, and I really love the idea of this being community over competition. I love that, and I'd love to do more things because I do think that collaboration is how we're going to survive the future. It is scary, because I think we're all daunted by it is pretty scary of what does the future hold. There's AI, we hear about all of this stuff, and the only way we're going to get ahead is by collaboration, not by competition. So I love what you're doing.